I noticed you're a spikes with no socks person. That's a huge debate. So are you always no socks with spikes?
The debate is probably if you're professional or unprofessional. So that's maybe a definition for every individual, and that's where you kind of find yourself. I would say I'm professional, so I do no socks.
I'm Jakob Ingebrigtsen. I'm currently in Flagstaff, training last couple of weeks before the season of 2024 starts. The reason why I'm in Flagstaff right now is to reduce the stress going into the first competition, because this is the same time zone, so trying to avoid jet lag and adjusting to all different things in the first race. So I'm racing in Eugene, Prefontaine Mile, so it's a good place to stay in Flagstaff to settle in a little bit and do the work needed. It's a nice place. Today we're doing some 400s at threshold plus, and then going in spikes for some 200s at race pace. So right now I'm kind of in between high mileage and volume and base training, and trying to adapt a little bit going into race pace. So it's a good session of keeping the mileage somewhat high and still get some reps at race pace. The goal for this session is probably to do it. Maybe not that much more. It's a nice way of kind of getting two birds with one stone. In this period, it's very important for me to not overdo anything, to not get greedy with the mileage and not try to overdo it in the race-specific work. So kind of holding myself back a little bit, trying to just listen to the body and try to and not overdo anything.
400s in Vaporflies, and then putting on Dragonflies for the 200s.
How often do you put the spikes on?
I try to put on the spikes for some strides every Monday, every Wednesday. Yeah. It all depends what I've done last couple of days leading up to every session. Should be good.
In my training, in my work, I never really know what I'm able to race before I get into the race. So I'm always trying to hold myself back and hit the intensity, but always at a lower risk. So this is a very safe session to kind of prepare yourself for a little bit more speed. So it should be good, and as long as I can keep myself hitting what I'm supposed to hit and not get too eager, should be good.
Today's a shitty day.
What do you say?
Oh, every day. Every day I'm not jogging. But once the endorphins starts to release, then it's a good day.
Yeah.
It's one perk of being a runner.
Seriously. 100%. That's why we're
getting high every day.
This is a session that I'm not doing too often. It's difficult to kind of compare too much, just something that I try to avoid in general. Not compare too much, because you always have to try to hit the intensity and not be too hung up in the pace or whatever. But I'm doing lactate measurements, heart rate, and obviously the pace. Try to hit the intensity That's the most important. So if I have to adjust the pace, faster or slower, that's what I'm gonna do.
How important is that data in your training blocks? At what point do you pay attention to it more or less?
I would say I use it mostly just to make sure that I'm not running too fast. Usually you can tell without measurements if you're running too slow, because if it feels a little bit too smooth and easy, then you should probably ramp up the pace a little bit. But it's a nice way of hitting the intensity, and obviously after a couple of years of collecting the data with lactate measurements and heart rate, you know where you're supposed to be, even though these kind of measurements it's not always the same. Obviously it depends on what you've done the last couple of days, how you're feeling, nutrition and all these things. So you just have to do it with experience and hope to hit it.
You know, how does what you're doing in Flag now help you, you know, obviously with the bigger goals down the line?
I think for me right now it's all about doing the work that I need to do to be able to perform in the Olympics. That's kind of the ultimate goal. But at the same time, with a season like this where it's somewhat important races in the Diamond League from the get-go, and then going straight into the European Championships and then National Championships, so there's a lot going on. So you kind of have to be focused and prioritize a little bit, but still be able to perform when you want. So it's a balance that can be difficult to find, but still it's good with the amount of experience that we currently have in our group, and of course the help that I'm getting for Henrik and Philip to kind of find the great balance between mileage and the race-specific work that I need to be able to do to run as fast as I want. But still, the slowest that I can race is starting to be relatively fast. So it's kind of good to have that as a base, even though you're kind of not doing the specific work. But still, as a runner, you want to feel good. So then you have to put on the spikes and do a couple faster reps to be able to kind of feel a little bit smooth.
halfway.
There's been a great rivalry forming in your event, the 1500. How does that help you in performance and as you get ready for events? Just having these other competitors around there that have kind of raised that level of the event.
I think in general the level is better in the top 20, maybe also definitely the top 100, top 200 runners in the world, but still being in my position all the way in front and kind of far in the front, if that makes sense. So I kind of have to do a lot of work on my own, but still it's definitely a positive thing that the level is rising and people are running faster, because then you can, if you're not, fighting in every race, you can definitely feel like everybody's pushing each other to kind of reach their potential.
You'll see Josh Kerr, Yard the Goose, a number of others at Prefontaine early season race. Like, how do you approach that when you see competitors in an earlier part of the season?
I would say it's a good thing that everybody's showing up for the races. I mean, I'm always there to race and try to race as much as I can without being, too greedy, because obviously you need to do what you can to be able to perform. So it's a good thing that we can all kind of have a lot of fights throughout the season and race each other as much as possible.
There's all these kind of accolades of your performances. Is there anything that stands out that you're most proud of?
Probably the consistency. I've been able to fight for medals last 6 years. And I was in my first World Championship 8 years ago. So I think it's cool to be able to always show up and always be able to perform at the level that I'm able to do when I show up, and not only do a championship and then go away for 2 years and kind of struggle in between, but being able to have that consistency to always do what I love, which is to race and try to fight for medals. I think it's just the approach. I'm always eager to participate. I thrive in the competitions, and I want to win. And I think that's a helpful mindset and approach to have going into a competitive sport, which running and especially middle distance is. But at the same time, it can bite you. So if you're pushing too hard and want too much, it can be difficult. So you kind of need to find the balance, which probably gets easier with a lot of experience, which I'm lucky to be able to have the experience that I have with my brothers. So it's I would say it's a good position to be in. Of course, it's a big advantage coming into a well-produced system with Henrik and Philip being professional runners when I was just a kid, and kind of getting into their rhythm and training and philosophy and learning a lot about the competitions, the mentality and training, what to do and what not to do. But at the same time, it's some things you just have to learn by yourself. Because when I was in my first World Championship when I was 16, I look back at that race and think that I was extremely stupid and that I should have done a lot different. So it's pros and cons with everything, but some things you just have to learn by yourself, and to be able to perform 100% you need many years of experience and just to show up and do your best every time.
feel after those 400s?
Probably feel the same way that I look. That's pretty tough.
How'd the wind feel?
Horrible. This is the reason why a lot of people never come to Flagstaff. Because the wind is not ideal.
When you take the lactate readings, you have to do it immediately after the interval? Or is
No, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
No, it has a tendency to go a little bit up around 1 minute and then it goes back down. Okay. Depends how fast you're going or how hard. But lactate is somewhat misunderstood because a lot of people think it's accurate in the way that it's the same all the time. But it's a reading of how much energy you use. So sometimes if you're fatigued, you don't have any energy. So you have a low lactate measurement, which some people think is good, but it's not very good because you're fatigued.
Yeah. Do you have a goal pace for twos?
It's kind of irrelevant when you're running with so much tailwind.
Yeah.
So you just have to try to relax and run smooth, but initially it's a goal pace is race pace for 15.
Yeah.
So that will be 27.5.
Okay.
But it's you can't really use it for anything, so you just have to do the best out of it.
I noticed you're a spikes with no socks person. That's a huge debate. So are you always no socks with spikes?
The debate is probably if you're professional or unprofessional. So that's maybe a definition for every individual and has where you kind of find yourself. I would say I'm professional, so I do no socks. It's like running with a raincoat, or not, or running with like rain boots. Not ideal. I think the approach should always be to remove as much as possible.
Opener on the Diamond League season this season, so like what's the goal for you?
The goal is just to get the good race, obviously try to win. I want to start the season off just as everybody else, get a good start, and of course first race is always a little bit extra nerve. Kind of feel, because there's such a long time since everybody's raced, that it's always a little bit uncertainty around everything, which is a little bit exciting, but also you just want to perform a little bit more in that race, because you kind of have to build and continue building on that into the season.
you get ready to start racing, what does the rest of the training look like while you're in Flag?
Started to drop down a little bit of mileage, still doing more than most, but trying to keep working quite hard but still be able to race as fast as I have to, if that makes sense, but not willing to sacrifice too much training, but still to be in decent shape. Total 30.3k today, so tough day at work, but good to be finished. I think the only thing with days like this is just keep your head down and just do what you need to do to be able to reach the finish line of the session. It's extremely difficult to find a rhythm and find the correct pace, and even more difficult to find the intensity because you have to go hard in the tailwind and then even harder in the headwind. So it's just all down to just trying to reduce the damage, but it was okay to do. I could tell halfway through the 400s that I was going a little bit hard. Difficult to find the rhythm and find the correct pace, but managed to reduce the damage a little bit and ended up with a little bit too high intensity. Marginal, but not too bad. So all in all, a good session. The 200s is kind of have to get going a little bit. First couple of reps is pretty hard, but then felt not too bad.
Okay, go into lane 2. Get out, get out, get out.
The 200s feel any better than the 400s?
No. At least it's done. Considering that I'm still doing a lot of mileage, it's very much as expected. Because all the mileage and the threshold is kind of blocking the anaerobic capacity. So when you're running only on aerobic capacity, it's just a lot of stress. You just have to fight every stride because there's really no power. But it's good.